My name is T. Turner, and I am the Farm Services Director here with RAFI. And today we are joined by Mr. Tou Lee and Taylor Holenbeck, who are going to walk you through some important tips and tricks and advice that you can use when you are doing your crop planning. So I'm going to just do a brief introduction of our speakers, and then I'm going to pass it over to Taylor. And once he's done, Mr. Lee um, will take over, and he will um, give you some information from the farmer's perspective. So Taylor is the grower services coordinator at Happy Dirt in Durham, North Carolina. He's an agribusiness representative on the Administrative Council of Southern SARE. When Happy Dirt began in 2004, the local and organic produce was not easy to find in this corner of the country. So, together with a small group of farmers, they set to solve this problem. And today, they proudly partner with hundreds of farmers and customers throughout North America. Mr. Lee is the owner of Lee's One Fortune Farm, which is a small family-owned farm located in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in McDowell County. The Lee family is part of a community of Hmong farmers. The Hmong people are natives to the Laos and Vietnamese in Vietnam, and many came to the U.S. as refugees after the Vietnam War. Western North Carolina is the home to one of the largest Hmong communities in the United States, and Lee's One Fortune Farm specializes in growing Asian produce. They sell their produce at farmers markets where they encourage customers to try foods that they may never had before. And so, with those introductions, I am going to stop sharing my screen and give Taylor permission to do so he can take it over from here. It's saying you sharing, Taylor, but it's not showing anything. Taylor, are you still with us? Looks like he may be frozen. Hold on. Okay, well, to not belabor the time that people have taken out to be with us this afternoon, Mr. Lee, if you want to start, and then we'll just have Taylor jump in whenever he's able to get back connected with us. But if you want to just talk about how you do crop planning as a farmer and what you grow and what your process is, we can start there and just circle back to Taylor.
Sure, I'll be happy to talk. So, hello everyone. Hope you can hear me okay with the minor technical difficulties we're having. So, as the intro goes, I belong to a small band of people, group called the Hmong people. We are pretty much in a group of people that reside in the mountains of Laos. The reason I want to give a little bit of intro in that realm is that pretty much the area where we grew up and where we live overseas uh, kind of resembles a little bit what we have here in Western North Carolina with the mountains, with the uh, uh, trees and the creeks and rivers and all that. And also for the climate closely resemble without the snow. except for the high elevation. We do have freezing temperatures up there. So all that said, the Hmong community is very deep into agriculture. That is the basis of what we do for pretty much work and livelihood throughout wherever you find Hmong people, you'll see us in agriculture. Um, it is important to our family just as it is to all other community members that they produce food for their household. And so that is the basis of what we do here in Western North Carolina. A little bit of background: when we first came here, we did not have the ability to acquire the food that we are used to. A lot of the Asian greens that we grew up eating was not available. I have mentioned already when I was with the RAFI come to the table seminar one time. It was at one time that we give money to a person that will have a station wagon and tell them to go and drive all the way from, if you guys know where Asheville, Hickory, Marion area of North Carolina, they would drive all the way to uh, Atlanta and find an Asian grocer on a monthly basis. And we go there and fill up that station wagon of whatever produce that is more familiar with us, and they bring it all the way back home. And then that's how we did it for the longest time, to the point where um, that was not feasible. And when it was happening, it was something that had to be done, but everybody had a longing to be able to grow their own product. And our own product was hard to come by. So, making a long story short, there was a time that we were able to acquire seeds from people in California, people that went back and visit Laos and Thailand, and able to acquire seed and ship it to the United States. So in the last 45, 50 years, we as a community started growing stuff. And then we have a lot of our produce that we were able to grow. Things such as our rapinis, our Chinese broccoli is not even known today here very well. The type of spinach that we grow, the type of mustards that we grow, the radishes that we grow, even to the pumpkins that we grow, it wasn't very well known here. So that is the basis of why the Hmong community grow a lot of stuff. Is because, well, if you don't have it, you got to make and got to find the means to get it, and that's why we do it. So for this webinar today, I would love to explain how my people, we grow things on a 3-season basis. Our property is continuously being rotated, and it's continuously being used to grow one crop or another. Say for in the springtime, starting about we start about right now to plant for our spring season, and our spring season kicks off around uh, mid-February on out, because a lot of the stuff that we want to consume, we have to start planting now, like our rapini, spinaches, cabbages, a lot of the radishes, and a lot of our onions and cilantros and stuff. We have to start planting now, and that is for our early season. So as the early season comes, we will harvest that, and once we have it harvested, we automatically turn that soil over to plant for our late spring or spring crop. And that crop consists of a lot of our brassicas, a lot of our usual um, herbs and things like that, like our onions. And then once that is done, we harvest that in about middle May, middle May. Then about that session, it's kind of weird, but during that time we will start already planning for our summer crop. the most of everything, the cool weather crop, everybody pretty much can see and understand how to grow those. And in the summertime, we have a tougher time of growing uh, the the usual brassicas in that family like that. So we turn over to what we call our summer crop. And the summer crop and summer greens is vastly different than what you would typically know in this area, where a lot of people will have things like shards and uh, pumpkins and tomatoes and beans. We do those too, but our summer green is missing. So what do we grow for that season? We do our pumpkins, and we actually have multiple variety of pumpkins, but we don't plant the pumpkins to eat the pumpkin. We actually plant the pumpkins to harvest the vines, the tips of the vines as a green. And then we also plant things like chayote, squash. And when it's early season, we use that as a green. We harvest the green tips. Water spinach, or king call in the Chinese language. That is a typical morning glory type vine. And we plant those for the heat of the summer to be harvested for our greens. Our people eat a lot of greens, so that's why we do that. And then crops like chrysanthemums will be coming in. We utilize those. Crops like for the summer, we will have, let's see, there's quite a few. Chrysanthemums is one. Then the sweet potato vines. I don't know if a lot of people eat sweet potato vines, but we do. And we harvest those as well during that time of the season. And that season carries a lot of what we call our summer greens, including things like uh, watercress, and it carries us all the way into the late summer, where we will always have greens on our table. And once we get to around August time frame, we start making preparations. Everything we harvest in the summertime, we convert that soil to be ready to be planted for our early or late fall, early winter crop, which is about this time of the year. And what we harvest now are the Japanese spinach, our collards, of course, our our yu choy, our bok choys, our, let's see, sweet choy, the gai choy mustard, the head mustards. And then we have things that are in there, like our cabbages that we will be harvesting this time of the year, all the way until frost. But one of the other items that we do that's very unique is also a crop called winged beans. It comes in very late of the season. You're able to eat both the vines, the young leaves, the pods, and when it's dried, the seeds are dried, you can actually cook them just like a regular dry bean. And that is a crop that we harvest at this time of the year. So on and on, as I, prelude to there a little bit, we do not set one crop and harvest it and can and preserve it for the whole season. In our culture, we actually plant multiple variety of crop per the season, and our diet changes throughout the season. Of course, in the spring, you won't have no sweet potatoes like that. So in the spring, we don't eat that. We eat a lot of sweet potatoes in the fall and in the winter. I mean, just like everybody else, but in the spring and summer, we eat a lot of sweet potato vines. So we, as I try to teach a lot of our people that's in this area that come and witness what we do in our fields, I always tell them, the Hmong people, we chase the season. We eat throughout the season. Each season brings about a different variety of product, and that's something that happens organically in the old country that we come from because you don't have methods and means to preserve things. And there's no truck trailer that will come to your village from the big cities or wherever, bringing you certain fresh food and produce. You have to provide it yourself. So it's very heavily ingrained into our culture to really plant for the different season, plan the type of crop that would do well in the cold versus a crop that would do well in the heat. And in order for a person to utilize all those things, you have to you have to immerse yourself into a farm lifestyle where you're always thinking about not just what's happening now. Like the commercial farms, they're always just thinking, let's plant 100 acre of corn. And, once they get the corn planted and harvested, the land stays dormant and they don't do anything to the land until the next spring before excuse me, the starting the tillage, and then they start planting another crop. What's funny is we tried to get into uh, loans from USDA in the past, and they will have the same mentality and framework of, okay, how many acres of corn are you planting, or how many acres of soybean are you planting, um, things like that. And I always had the hardest time explaining to, our financial people, we don't do that. I mean, within a single field, you might see 40, 50 types of crop, and they all rotate from one side of the field throughout the other side of the field. We don't plant the same thing in the same spot no more than two, maybe three times, but we rotate within the same field, and each field will maybe have maybe 1 to 2 acres that would be set in one type of crop. And we don't just plant one crop and stay with it and wait till next year to plant the same crop. We rotate the soil. As I stated, if we plant brassicas, then we will come back and plant things like uh, root crops, the sweet potatoes. And once sweet potatoes is harvested, we turn the ground and get it ready to plant cabbages. And once the cabbages are harvested this next spring, uh, other brassicas will go in it. Or if we do the skip year, we skip that spot. Things like garlics and onion will go into that same plot. So truthfully, we don't the land doesn't rest long, but at the same time, we don't overdraw the nutrients out of the land because we're putting different crops into it. For instance, if a person continues to grow corn into that one plot every year, the ground will be depleted very heavily. But the way we would do it, maybe that plot will get corn in the summer. It will have, I mean, in the fall, it will have something like a legume that goes in it. And the next spring, we will probably plant sweet potatoes in it. And then the following season, in the summer and fall, it will go with something else. Could be some type of beans, or could be something that like a taro will even go in it. So it's all about diversing crop and planting differently for that same spot. Therefore, you don't deplete the soil, and the soil stays pretty well heavy for the nutrients that the plant needs. And as everybody know, if you rotate it well like that, then you don't have to have you don't have to put heavy fertilizer into it. And we do our best to use a lot of mulch, a lot of compost. And the compost that we use heavy are our chicken and cattle manure that we put into the ground. And if I'm going to plant something that really draws heavy nitrogen, I usually put those implements into the ground already now, and then we will plant in the spring. So I don't know who, I don't know how many other people do that, but that's what we learned to do. And it's one of those things that it's harder to teach someone if they don't see it. But if they see it and live with you, then they're able to see that and they go, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense. So succession planning pretty much is the same. I mean, the same theory. You don't never, hardly ever let the land sit long, and you don't really overuse the land as well if you diversify your crops. So that is what I got.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Are there any questions before we pass it over to Taylor? You can put them in our Q&A box, or if you want to raise your hand and ask a question to Mr. Lee, please feel free to do so. Um, okay. There you are, Miss B. You should have permission.
Okay, when you were
Hi.
talking about the greens, you said in Lao y'all had mustard, henpecked
Yes.
mustard. Are you talking about henpecked greens and mustard greens? Are you talking about two different types of greens, or you have a henpecked mustard green?
Mustard greens. The
Okay,
funny,
okay. I
yeah,
was like getting so excited, like, okay, that's something new.
mustard green. Um, Good. I'm glad you asked. In my culture, do you know? Well, I want to tell you, we have multiple variety of mustards.
Oh
My,
wow.
yeah. So the curly mustards that's very heavily known in this area.
Yes.
We don't even plant that because it's already available.
Okay,
So
that I'm so jealous. I'm a country girl. I was raised on a farm, and like I eat everything that grows, flies,
yeah,
swims, and so even I just got so excited. Like this year, I'm doing an all diverse garden on one of my properties, and I'm planting everything that I've never planted before.
yeah. Something that you may want to think about for the cool season. And
Hmm.
right now, if you plant it, well, I would say back up about August late. If you
Hmm.
plant it, we got one that's called Gai Choi. It's actually a mustard. It gets really big, but it makes a semi head just like a cabbage, and it's
Oh
a mustard.
wow! Well,
And
where
it's
would I get those seeds?
um, you can look online. We have gotten now it's more available than it used to be about 30 years ago. You can't even find it. I
Okay.
mean, you have to know a special handshake and everything in order to find that stuff. But you can go to Kitazawa.
Uh-huh.
Kitazawa is a Japanese seed, heirloom seed company based out of California, and they will have
Okay.
those. Now, one caveat, make sure you're sitting down when you click on the price.
Oh, okay. Look, when it comes to food and this, the way the economy is now, it's worth it. Seeds are worth it. Seeds are what's
Yeah.
going to get us through. So
And
I would
here's
be
the,
willing to pay it because I'm
yeah,
gonna.
yeah. And here's the great thing. When you buy the heirloom variety,
Hmm.
the great thing about it is if you don't grow it near other things that can crossbreed with it, you can save the seed. And that's what we do a
Okay.
lot. Yeah, we do a
Yeah, see,
lot
that's
of
what
that.
I'm doing now. I'm a part of the Utopia Seed Project. So that's what I have a garden just for that. So I've been, spacing things out and just trying all new things. So yeah, I'm gonna try to get
Yeah.
some of those seeds.
Are you with,
Definitely.
do you know Chris from
Yes.
Utopian Seed Project? Yeah, good.
Hmm.
We share some of our summer greens with them called cassava.
Oh yeah.
The cassava is not only for the root, we eat the greens. A lot of people out of Kenya, Jamaica, Haiti,
Yeah.
and all those folks, they also eat the same way we do. And
See, we
if
learned that,
you,
and when I went to the South Conference, that's what a lot of the people from south of the border, well, no, south of the equator was talking about. They ate those, and I was like, I'm so greedy, y'all. I was at everything that I had never heard of before. So,
yeah,
yes, I definitely remember those because they actually brought some leaves so we could see them and feel the texture. So
yes.
it was awesome.
So we do that. And if I was to mention every particular thing we grow for greens for the summer season, meaning from about mid June to mid August for our summer season there, it's I think it'll be over 30, 40 different varieties.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, so I mean, and then the roots become the focal point for the fall. While
Mhm.
it's grown in the summertime, it's the greens that we utilize.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so yeah, Kitazoa is a good place to look for Asian leafy green seeds. And I primarily just purchased the heirloom variety. They have a lot of hybrids and stuff, which is fine, but I want to save seeds, so I always try to get the heirloom variety. And yeah, they do hit you pretty hard when you buy the heirloom seed.
We have a few more
Anything
questions for
else?
you, Mr. Lee. There was a question in the chat that asks, is the sweet potato vines used as an add-in or are they cooked by themselves?
You're breaking up. But sweet potato vine, we grow multiple varieties of sweet potatoes, and it's all either Japanese, Asian varieties. There is one that we grow. It's got a little white tuber, but a little bit bigger than the size of your thumb. And that little tuber produces nothing but edible vines, edible greens. It doesn't do a whole lot as far as growing a tuber or a root for you to consume. It is edible, but it's just not big. Now, we utilize the greens heavily because it makes more leaves, it makes more tender vines, so that is used for that. However, every one of your sweet potato vines is edible, both raw, you can use it raw. It's got a sweet, nutty flavor to it, like a almost like a sweet potato. You can steam it, you can stir fry it, you can put it in sautés, whatever the case, and it works great. And it's really nutritious too.
And then the last question for you is, where do you sell your product? Is it wholesale, retail, or both?
Yes, to all of them. So yes, the answer is very much. We sell we sell direct to consumers at the farmers market. We sell direct to restaurants, and then we sell to wholesale companies, and we also sell to people like that aggregate food for the less fortunate, meaning pantries and things like that. We sell to those folks, and what we can't sell or we have abundant amount of, we also donate to those folks. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think that's a really good transition. Oh, one last question. Should the sweet potato vine be harvested young or throughout the growing process?
We do both. The answer is yes too. The only when they're very very young, we don't bother them until they start branching out to be about maybe a couple feet long, and then we harvest roughly about 8 to 10 inches of the vine tip, and then the more you harvest, the truth is in the sweet potato world, if you guys dealt with it, if you can keep the vines short and keep it from making roots into the ground again, the sweet potatoes actually get bigger and a little bit uh, more potatoes or several more potatoes. But by the way we do it, it's actually a green product for us. So naturally, we're pruning it to keep to for green, and it works both to also make sure that the sweet potato gets large and fill up fill up pretty good.
Okay. I know we have one more question, um,
Yeah.
but I do want to give Taylor his time. Taylor, are you able to show your presentation or did you need me to do so?
Yeah, let me try one more time, and then if not,
Yeah. I don't
yeah.
know if I say hi, Taylor.
Hi, hi everyone.
Yeah.
I
We
loved
can't see
your
your
Mr.
screen.
Lee. Yeah, I loved your presentation. Thanks for sharing your experience, and I'm a huge fan of a lot of these crops that you're talking about that I'm still learning a lot about.
Well, cool.
And I'll say that, and we work in, larger organic wholesale, but bok choy is becoming really popular more and more, and um, tatsoi and napa cabbage and a lot of the root crops and all of like the specialty sweet potato varieties, the Asian varieties are really popular. So there's a lot of, and then there's so many more beyond that, obviously. But those I've really seen grow in popularity. You can see, I guess, Randy's holding some bok choy right here in this picture. Um, but yeah, I love the history and I love learning about all the knowledge you all bring to North Carolina of your foodways. So thank you. All right, let me try to share this. Can you all see that?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Is
Yep,
it like
showing the
full? Is it full
presentation.
screen?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you all for having me today. My name's Taylor. As T mentioned, thank you, RAFI, for having me. Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about production planning from the customer side. So, from what could the customer wants and maybe how a wholesale customer would plan with you, which is, kind of an ideal situation for a farmer. Instead of just guessing what you're going to be growing and what our customer wants, we're going to come together with you and really make a plan so you can go week by week and know what you need to grow. So that's our goal anyway. And so just a little background, as T mentioned, yeah, I'm the grower services coordinator. I'm like a technical assistant for our network of farmers throughout the Southeast, about 100 different farms that we work with, mostly in North Carolina still. But yeah, we've been around since 2004 and we're an aggregator. So Happy Dirt aggregates produce from all across the Southeast and beyond, and then distributes to mostly retail grocers. So all the co-ops in the state, all the Whole Foods in the state, direct to their stores, distribution centers on the East Coast for Whole Foods, and then other independent and natural grocers as well. So that's what we do. And yeah, I just want to give you some context for what it kind of looks like from our side. If you have, I can share these slides too. I'm going to go through some of them pretty quick to respect y'all's time. But I'm happy to share these slides and you can reach out to me if you have any more questions afterwards. Um, so just to give a little bit more context about working with a wholesaler like us. You do often have to have certifications, like a food safety certification. And for us, we're an organic produce distributor, so we distribute around 90% of all certified organic produce. So it really helps our markets and us to sell your product if you're certified organic. Just a little stipulation there. And yeah, I wanted to kind of zoom out and give a couple like concepts and principles too about production planning. And when you're a farm in the winter, you're thinking about, all right, what do I need to focus on this next year? There's this interesting principle called the Pareto principle. This is the Italian guy from the 1800s. He came up with this when he observed that 80% of the land was owned by 20% of people. Like, oh, that's an interesting pattern. And then he started looking and seeing this pattern in a lot of different things. And it does hold true, definitely in capitalism, often holds true, that, you put 20% of effort in and you get 80% of results, or vice versa. You put 80% of effort into something, maybe you only get 20% of the result from it. So this holds true in a lot of farming scenarios that I see. You could take tomatoes, for example, for small farms. There may be like a small part of your grow for the year. Maybe you just have one tunnel of tomatoes, but maybe that one tunnel generates like the most sales out of any crop you had that year. So just an interesting way to think about how to focus on like what you're good at growing and what is like really productive for you and what is maybe the lowest like effort and burden on your farm and your soil and your workers, but leads to the most results or most sales. So that's another way of looking at it. And this is from the Lean Micro Farm, which is a book by Ben Hartman. It's a great book. I highly recommend everyone reading that who's trying to be more efficient on their farm on a smaller scale and growing smaller, not bigger. He really works on two things, which is vital products and vital customers. So like I was just mentioning, for vital products, you want to look at, you want to have a low cost of production, you want high volume for those products, and then you want to be able to sell it at a good price. So a good example of this might be like head lettuce or bok choy, where it's often a one-time harvest. So you're not having to go back into the fields a lot. You can flip that bed over quickly. So low cost of production, you can often pack those right into the box in the field because you don't have to ice them. You can produce them at high volume because they're really quick growing crops. And you can usually get a good price for them, especially in like the organic market for those like single head items. Similar principle for customers. I'd like to consider that Happy Dirt is a vital customer because we can provide consistent volume for you, so you can really plan on how much to grow and taking the best advantage of your space. Um, you can, we like to plan with farms that are close to us. We still really focus on um, growing and sourcing from local organic farms in North Carolina and getting those all across the state. And then we try to pay a fair price to fair market price. So you want to look at those customers though, and like really invest in those customers and plan with those customers. So that's kind of why we like to production plan, because we feel like we get commitments. We have growers commit to us more. I'm going to skip these, but this is just an example of um, what kind of crops we're buying from small farms in the state. So you can see sweet potatoes, 16%. This is from small farms. And by small farm, in this context, I'm talking about like 20 acres or less. Berries, lettuce, about 20%. Tomatoes is about 10%. Root vegetables about 10%. So those are the big ones that we get a lot from our smaller farms. Um, Summer squash is not a very big one because the bigger farms grow a lot of zucchini and stuff like that. So we try not to have our small farms grow those items. So yeah, to how Happy Dirt production plans. So I get together with our purchasing team, who will be your like direct, who would be your like direct contact, like your customer, and, every year. And so we have these programs. I'll show you the next slide, and I'll jump back to this one that can show us charts of, we can type in a date range, and I can type in a farm, and it'll show me all the products that that farm grew this year within this date range and how many cases we got from them each week. So let's say I'm looking at shishito peppers, 8x1 quart. So starting on 6/9, we got 10 cases, and we got 15 cases, and 35 cases, and so on. And so I look at that, and I'm like, okay, we had pretty good volume. And then it looks like in late July, we'd stopped getting any. And so there's a gap in production there. And that's okay. That's actually expected in late July, August down here in the Piedmont, where it gets really hot in July, and then the fruits stop setting for a little bit, and then they pick back up in September. That's pretty normal. So that's good information for us to have, so we can really plan with the farm. Like, okay, you're able to do 10 cases a week. That's great. That worked really well for us. We're going to do that and maybe a little bit more. So we look at that data, and then we research new crops that our customers want, or that are trending, or that are just not really available on the market. And then we plan those with farms that are excited about those crops. We typically base each farm's plan off the previous year, and then adding and subtracting items as needed, depending on how they sold by looking at that data. We generally try to increase each crop that did well by like 15 to 20% every year. And then we send that plan to the farm, and then we meet in person, and we go through line by line, and we talk about like, hey, how did this crop go for you? We look at the data that we collected, and we just also talk about feelings like, did you really enjoy growing that crop, or did you hate growing that lettuce? So I can show you kind of what that looks like here in this slide. So this is an example of like a production plan that we would send to a farm. So you can see the top line here. we have strawberries. So we did, 600 and, oh, sorry. We did 689 cases of strawberries with this farm in 2024. And then, so this year we planned 800. And we tried to plan a weekly volume of 100 cases. So that's a lot of strawberries, but this is a relatively small farm. This plot of strawberries is 1 acre. And so they got a lot of strawberries out of 1 acre of crop, 100 cases a week. And the farm met this goal. Actually, they did 100, it was like 110 cases a week, basically. So over an 8-week period, they did 800, like 857 cases. So we're going to send you, we would send you this, and other wholesale customers might do this for you too. And really what you're going to look at is this weekly volume. That's what you want to, that's like what's going to help you the most. So I'm going to give you an example in the next slide. And then we give you a date range too, like, okay, strawberries, obviously April through May. And like peppers, July through October, radishes, September through October, April through June. So you can kind of, that's the date range we want them, and then we tell you how many a week we want. And so a way to think about that, here's an example of red radishes. So Happy Dirt wants 30 cases a week of 24 count. That means like 24 bunches in a box, red radishes. So that's 720 bunches a week, or 7,200 individual radishes a week. 10 per bunch is what we tell our farmers, that we want 10 radishes in one bunch. And so, okay, you need 7,200 radishes a week. Well, that's a lot of radishes. So how do you get there? So say you're planting 15 seeds a foot. You're direct seeding them. Maybe if you're, a small farm has a Jang seeder or some kind of direct seeder, or you're just doing it by hand, 12 to 15 seeds per foot is pretty average for seeding radishes. And if you're working on a 30-inch bed, you can fit around 5 rows of radishes per bed. So you have about 75 seeds per bed foot. And so in a 100-foot bed, you can fit about 7,500 radishes, or 7,500 seeds. And so that's about right for what we need a week. So you will need 100 feet a week of radishes. You need to plant that every week in succession. So if we're wanting it starting in September through the end of October, you'd probably start planting like the beginning of August and have radishes ready for Happy Dirt by the 1st of September, give or take. So yeah, that's kind of how you'd look at it from a customer gives you a quantity. This is one way you could break that down. It gets more complicated with crops like tomatoes, who the yield can vary, and it's hard to do like consistent each week, because they're going to have peaks and they're going to have valleys in production. But there's ways to figure that out too. But that's just one example. And I'll just say, yeah, kind of what buyers are looking for. We're mainly looking for really good communication. We want pictures. We want you to text us. We want you to call us. We want you to send out availability lists, and just being really clear of what you have. Because if we don't know what you have, then we can't sell it. And so, my part of my job is I go out to the farms and I look and I help the farm assess, like, okay, yeah, you're gonna have cabbage in 2 weeks. That's exciting. So I'll go back and I'll tell our sales team, and that's helpful. But no, not everyone has that. Your restaurants don't have that. They can't always be coming out. They're really busy. Or the person at the co-op you're selling to might not be able to do that all the time. So it's really good to just communicate as much as you can. Another thing from our seat, consistency is really important. The more consistent volume we can have, the better our customers will enjoy that consistency, and that keeps them coming back to us. But if we can't meet volumes each week, then obviously our customers will go elsewhere. So that makes it difficult. So don't overpromise, kind of be conservative in your planning and telling your customer what you actually have. Because if you tell them you have too much, or you tell them you have a lot, and then it comes back, oh, actually don't have that much. We might have already planned to sell the original volume you told us. So um, we also want feedback on pricing. I think this is a big challenge for farmers a lot of times to know how much to sell for, unless, it's different if you're selling at the farmer's market. You can kind of look at your farm neighbors and see what they're selling for and hopefully come to an agreement how much you sell things for. But in wholesale, it's a little tricky because the market fluctuates and we go based on like what the market is and like what the grocery stores are wanting and how much volume there is and the grand scheme of things. So, but if you're not satisfied with the price you're getting, a lot of buyers will be really negotiable. Like, hey, I need $2 more a case on this. Tell them that because they just may not know that you need that. They are just going off market pricing a lot of times. So the more communication on pricing, the better. And yeah, again, tell them everything you're growing because I don't know how many times I go out to farms, and it just happened 2 weeks ago actually. I went out to a farm and we're looking at the crops that we're planting with them, and then the farm says, "Oh yeah, and I'm growing some Brussels sprouts." Well, we love Brussels sprouts, and like our customers love Brussels sprouts, and we want to sell those Brussels sprouts. But if we don't know about it, then we can't sell them. So let your customer know. Um, yeah, just more detail on pricing. This is all from a wholesale perspective, and so if you're going direct to consumer, this is a lot different. But this wholesale perspective, there's a lot of different ways to determine pricing. But the best way is really asking your farmers and asking your buyers what the best pricing is, or going to the grocery store and looking at pricing and then kind of backing out margin from there. For just a few more tips, I've just got a couple more minutes. Focus on a core set of items that you're good at growing, that you're efficient in, that don't cost you a lot of labor, and ones you love to grow. So those are all really important.
Put stuff up in the car.
Important things. So and start small. If you grow slowly, I think farmers see from Green Heifer Farms always says, grow slow so you don't owe. And I think this is really important advice. And if you grow too fast, you can't keep up with your quality, you can't keep up with the lifestyle you need. So we would rather see you say, I can do 10 cases of baby broccoli a week instead of I'm going to do 50 cases of baby broccoli a week and then not be able to meet it or be stressed out about it. So grow slow. Advocate for yourself and reduce your muda. This is a Japanese principle for muda is waste. And so streamlining your systems, keeping your area clean, your farm clean, reducing time in the field that is not adding value to your farm. So reducing the time you're weeding and more time planting and harvesting. So anything you can do to reduce the monotonous tasks on your farm and keep your costs down in that way, those are going to lead to you just being able to harvest more and plant more because you're focused on what adds and brings value to your farm, not just kind of schlepping away in the weeds. So refine your systems. And just a couple crops that worked really well for our farms in wholesale. Mixed heirlooms are a hero for us. They're just a really great crop for small farms. One farm out of one greenhouse sold us just under 3,000 cases of heirloom tomatoes this year. So pretty amazing. for 16 weeks. Strawberries, great crop. We can't sell enough organic strawberries. Head lettuce, I mentioned, it's a really quick crop, really good crop. Um, baby broccoli is one that's really trending, and there's a lot of cool varieties of these. Some are Asian varieties. Han Sai Tai is one I've grown before. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but it's a really beautiful sprouting broccoli that high mowing seeds carries. But yeah, these are really quick to grow instead of your typical, you know, big head broccoli that we see a lot of in the stores. They're really sweet and a good thing for smaller farms to grow because they're more specialty items. Cherry tomatoes, of course. Um, specialty roots, I talked about those like Japanese sweet potatoes. Those have been really popular. We sell out of our specialty sweet potatoes every year. We try to have them year round, excuse me, in storage. Specialty winter squash, those have been really popular. Um, watermelon radishes and daikons, those have been really popular. Carrots from like local organic carrots, they're the best and they taste way better than the California stuff. So we try to buy as much of those as we can. Um, downside of these crops is they're in the field for a long time. So you got to have room to let them do their thing. Um, blackberries, blueberries, all huge crops for us that we don't have enough of. Organic, there's like zero organic, certified organic blackberries anyway that we can buy in North Carolina right now. So if I had a farm, which I really want to, I would go plant some blackberries. Fuyu persimmons, another Asian crop that's doing really, really well right now. We sell around 100 to 200 cases a week of fuyus. That's pretty cool. Satsumas too, out of Georgia. So yeah, that's and yeah, I'll send you these slides if you want. There's some cool information here. And one, if someone's really wanting to nerd out about production planning and like get into the spreadsheet aspect of it, I highly recommend going to Dan Brisebois. He's a French Canadian grower. He has a site called hisname.com. And he has classes on how to create crop planning spreadsheets that are really helpful. There's free downloadable templates of crop planning sheets that he uses, and they're very intensive. So if you're just, it depends on what level you're trying to do of crop planning. There's, if you're just trying to do a simple plan, I recommend just using Excel or an Airtable, where you can kind of just put a line of like how long you're gonna need that certain crop for, and then how many cases a week you're trying to your goal is, your sales goal is, and then you can have all your other tabs of like how many seeds you got to buy and how many bed feet you need, like we were talking about with the radishes. But Dan's site's really cool. He has classes you can pay for, but there's also like introductory courses that are free. And he really starts from what are your financial goals for your farm? And then working back from there, then, okay, what are your sales goals? Okay, and for each crop, what are you trying to sell? Like, what's your goal? You're trying to sell $10,000 worth of heirloom tomatoes. Okay, how do you get there? Like, how many do you need to grow? And who are you to sell them to? So it's pretty cool to see. I highly recommend that. Yeah, so that's all I have. And you can email me at taylor@happydirt.com if you'll have more questions. But I'd love to, if there's any questions, um, I would love to answer some.
Yes, please feel free. I know there was a question in the chat about the software that you use, but it seemed like that question was just answered just now, Taylor, of what you
Oh,
because the farmer had asked, what's the software used to collect the data that you first shared, and are farmers able to access during the growing season to add or make changes to the data being collected?
great. Yeah. So for us, as a wholesaler, we use this very intense inventory system that tracks, everything that comes in on a purchase order and then out on a sales order and everything that we have in our warehouse. And so it's called Just Foods. It's not applicable for a farm, but it does attach to this. The thing was showing you earlier was it's called Power BI, and it's like a program within that program. I see someone is using Tend.
Hmm.
They're really cool. I actually, yeah, I have a friend that works with Tend, and yeah, I think that's a pretty cool program. It can be as extensive as you want it to be. Um, there's also ones called Farmhand, I know is one. Barn to Door is another one. And so yeah, there's several different like crop planning specifics programs out there. But if you're just starting small, like I said, using Excel or Airtable, I think are great starts. Go look at the Dan Brisebois. It's on Excel. It's very intensive, but it's all on Excel. So those are powerful tools. Um, I think, I think those are great places to start.
Okay, we have a few more questions. I don't know if you answered her question about the comprehensive tool. Is that what Dan provides that also allows fertilization plan as well?
Um, yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, his tool is just Excel. So yeah, it works really well. I think if that answers your question. Um, I
And
see
then
some. Oh, go ahead.
the next
You
question,
should read them.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's fine, Taylor. The next question is, what city and state are you in?
Yeah. I am in Durham, North Carolina. And I'm in our warehouse right now. In our conference room. Yeah, we're in East Durham, right off Pettigrew, off of 147. So pretty close by.
And there's another question. I see you created a MOU. What happens if a farmer is not able to produce as planned due to weather or whatever?
Yeah. Hey, Delphine. Um, yeah, that's a great question. So an MOU, we like to, it's like our most intense thing that we offer to farmers. We don't do contracts because we understand that weather happens to farmers all the time and that we lose customers too because they go somewhere else or whatever happens. So the MOU is more of a please, please try to fulfill our production plan as much as you can. And we, in turn, will buy all of that we plan. So if we plan 20 cases of radishes a week, we will buy 20 cases of radishes a week. Um, if you have more than 20 cases of radishes a week, that's great. We will typically buy 30 cases of radishes a week. If you have 100 cases of radishes a week, we probably can't do that. So it's just, we want to have an understanding of like what the stipulations are. If the farm can't produce that, um, they don't get punished. There's, we're a farm service company. So we want the best for our farmers. If they can't produce it, that's okay. We'll talk about it. If that's why I'm here, like if there's something that the farm needs to do differently, if we need to troubleshoot, we will. We'll try it again next year if they want. If they don't want to, there's other farms that want to grow radishes. So it's not a contract and there's no punishment, but there's no like upfront payment either. We get the product and then we pay you. So yeah, if that makes sense.
And I know Alicia, I don't know if you had your hand raised for quite a while. So if you want to unmute and ask your question.
It was answered. Thank you so much.
Perfect. And we just got another question in the chat. Can you recommend a seed company for the Asian sweet potato?
That's a good question. Sweet potatoes are sweet potatoes are hard because they're not, they're usually you buy them by the slip, or you grow your own slips, which is pretty cool, and I would recommend trying. But most of our potato farmers get them from Jones Farm. He's a farmer in Eastern North Carolina that does specifically organic sweet potato slips. And so you can get them through Jones. I know Country Farm and Home, if you live in the area in Pittsboro, you can get sweet potato slips through them. Or just go to your, maybe you go to Mr. Lee and you say, hey, I need some sweet potatoes to try to grow my own sweet potato slips. Or can you grow sweet potato slips for me? Or maybe Chris Smith can do. I know there's a lot of farmers in that network with Utopian Seed Project that are sharing sweet potato varieties and carrying because it's such a cool and unique um, crop to be able to kind of cultivate your own variety over time and save and repeat. And as long as you're being careful, not getting diseases and spreading those diseases, I think it's a really great crop to try to grow on your own. Mr. Lee, do you have any suggestions?
Well, we do have a lot of just Asian variety. We have Korean and we have Japanese both. Um, we have them from purple flesh to bright orange flesh, and they're not typically the humongous size of sweet potatoes. And we have closer to the heirloom variety, what they don't make a short fat tuber, but they make more of a long cylindrical one because of the flavor. We go mainly for the flavor profile, not so much as the look. And you're correct. If a person wants to grow the type of sweet potato that we grow and things like that, um, Chris Smith at Utopian Seed Project, we have shared with them before, and chances are they still have it. All I've done in the past is if somebody needs something like that, they let me know, and we generally will send them over a couple of sweet potatoes. And in the home culture, it's kind of weird, but we have done this all throughout time and memorial, where if somebody asks for seed, we will provide seed. However, we don't give you enough to make a uh, large farm right off. And we chances are we don't charge for it if it's not something that is worthy of charging. But in our culture, we expect you to propagate. So let's say if I don't have a certain type of sweet potato and I find a family that has it, I will ask them for some. And chances are they'll give me one or two of the tubers. And then it's incumbent on me to take it and propagate it and grow it and save my seed there from that time on out. And therefore, in the future, if somebody asks in the community, asks me, hey, so and so gave you sweet potato to plant, do you still have any left? I will be willing to share that to that other individual and allow them to propagate and grow their own. So that's pretty much what we do in our community quite a bit. Same thing with all our heirloom seeds, whether it's our greens or whatever else. And yeah, we even do that with our rice variety, that the heirloom rice that we grow here. Somebody, have enough desire to grow it, we will teach them. And at the same time, you won't get no pound worth to grow whatever amount, but you will get a small little portion and you expect it to. The reason for it, I think the elders designed that in the past to make sure that that person understand and build the knowledge to care for that set item because it's easy to say, hey, I got it, and then really you don't. But if somebody give you a little bit precious amount of seed, you're going to be extra careful and you'll know all the pitfalls that comes with it.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. And it looks like Constance, you can unmute and ask your question whenever you're ready.
I was late getting on, and so I missed the presentation because for some reason I couldn't get on. But I wanted to ask Taylor, I'm here in Durham, and I think I know exactly where you are. Could I spend a half an hour with you?
Sure. Yeah. Just
Okay.
feel free to email me and yeah, I would love to chat and see
Okay. Okay.
see
And I was just,
yeah.
thank you. I was just going to say, I picked up some sweet potato. We just call them small sweet potatoes when I was growing up. And my grandfather always, we had a bank of small potatoes that we saved for seed, and we put them in a sweet potato bed, and that's the way we grew our sweet potatoes. And so I picked up some sweet potatoes from the Carolina, um, this, what is it? CSFA. I think that's what it is,
Hmm. That's right.
conference. I picked some up and I put them in my back near my in my house at my little garden in my house, and they grew some seedling, and I planted the seedling, and I now have sweet potatoes. So, and it wasn't really hard.
Very
It's-
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these that's a great experience. Yeah, a lot of sweet potatoes are a really magical crop in that way. They know when it's their time to cycle into sprouting again, and they can be pretty easy to propagate if you follow some little steps, like Mr. Lee was saying. It's been done for since time immemorial. So
Yep.
Awesome.
yeah,
Well, that was our last question. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this afternoon and really giving a engaging presentation to our audience. To everyone that attend, thank you for sticking with us the whole time and after for some thought-provoking questions. The slides and also contact information for Taylor and Mr. Lee will be provided after this, as well as the recording. But we appreciate you taking your time out this afternoon, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
cool.
Thank you. Have a
Thank you
wonderful
all.
day. Okay.
Yes, enjoy the weather.
Yeah, thanks.